Yeah, good morning. My name is Richard Garrison. I'm a very good friend of Robert Powell's. I was born in Victorville in 1929 on Monte Vista Street. It was about the last street out of Victorville on the east side. Harvey Irvin's mother, Mrs. Irvin, was midwife when I was born, and I went to the elementary school in Victorville. There was no junior high at that time, and then on to high school. And after I graduated from high school, there was no college in the area, so I went down to Chaffee Junior College for a couple of years. My dad was the first Ford dealer in Victorville in 1925. He actually was about the only shop in the area, and the first new car dealership. He had the Auto Club towing service. We had the only tow trucks between the Cajon Pass and Barstow, and Big Bear and Lancaster. I mean, we were it. Had the Ford dealership and Mercury franchise. Sold a lot of trucks. Back when my dad was the Ford dealer, they used to ship the cars to him from Detroit, and he got the very first Model A that came to the state of California, because it was shipped by rail, and there was no Ford dealership in Needles or Barstow, so he got one even before San Bernardino or Los Angeles. Almost anywhere you could just drill a well, go down. You didn't have to go down very far, and there was plenty of water. In downtown Victorville, there were numerous springs that were actually problems, because they'd pave a road and the spring would pop up underneath, and they'd have to repave it. But now all those springs are dried up there. And at the high school, they had a swimming pool. And the way they'd fill it, they'd just open the valve and it'd fill with artesian water. I'm not sure who built the swimming pool, probably Louis Weiss, but Louis Weiss did build the gymnasium. And I understand that Louis Weiss built the Rainbow Bridge going to Apple Valley. And he did build my dad's one addition to the Ford dealership there, the cement brick building on 7th and Forest.
Where was that water, where the paving was a problem? What street was that?
Well, that would be the main street, 7th Street in Victorville, and C Street. There had been a Shell station on the corner there, and then across the street from that was the Green Spot Hotel, or Green Spot Restaurant and Bar. And yeah, it was in that area there. Anywhere along in that elevation, there were always springs. And of course, the streets were lined with cottonwood trees, and they were nice and cool. And everybody says, "Oh, how lovely they are!" But you know, those cottonwood trees, every once in a while, a limb would break off and fall on somebody's car. And at certain times of the year, they were a cottonwood, and they had this cotton that would float all over town, and that was a mess. And then they had these little ants that were constantly in them, and the roots would grow into the street and lift it up. So although they looked nice, it was nice to get them out of there.
Well, do you remember when they built the football field at the high school?
Oh yeah, when I was a little kid, I mean preschool, I remember that they built the high school football field. Can't remember his first name, but I'll say Old Man Dexter came down with a team of horses and leveled it. He graded it. And then when they were mixing cement, he brought sand down from the sand pit for the cement. And after you'd unload the cement, or after you'd unload the sand, all the kids in the neighborhood would pile on the wagon, and he'd take us up the hill, and but he wouldn't let us ride back down the hill with a load of sand. He was a good old guy. The V Hill was always a prominent location where after school dances and shows and stuff, the young folks would get in their cars and go up on the V Hill and look at the sights, and I don't know what else they'd do, but
whatever kids do.
But it was the road up there was pretty steep and sandy. Sometimes you'd get stuck going up there.
Do you remember when they built the hospital out there by the Bureau of Power and Light?
No, that was way before my time, and it has always been closed. I have never known it to be open.
Okay, because it's my understanding that I was one of the last babies born there.
You were born there?
Yeah, in 1931.
Okay, I wasn't. So I don't know.
Yeah, Arnold Lee Fullerton was born.
Oh, really?
There. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I don't know about your kids, but most of my kids were born in Arnolfrio's there on 6th Street Road.
No, it's West Side. It's called.
Is it called West Side?
Yeah, it's between 6th and 7th at an angle. Yeah, and that's where 6th Street terminated. You know, it didn't go. There was no high school where it is now. There was nothing. That was all desert. Do you remember when the Victor Theater was built?
Well, I remember when the Victor Theater was built, but I remember when the Mesa Theater was built.
Is that right?
I do.
When was it built?
Well, it must have been around... around 36, 37, somewhere. Maybe a little earlier, somewhere along in that time.
Where did you...
But prior to that, if you wanted to go to a show, we went over to the Legion Hall, and the first movies I ever saw were silent, and they'd have on the screen what the people were saying, and you'd hear people all over were reading it to to little kids like me or people that couldn't read, and what was going on. And you know who the projectionist was? Mickey Burton.
Yeah, Mickey Burton was at the Mesa too. I know.
Well, yeah, he was one of the first.
I worked at the Mesa as a usher a little bit when I was probably 12 or 14 years old.
At the Victor.
At the Mesa.
At the Mesa, okay.
And Mickey Burton was the projectionist at the time. And then they built the Victor sometime in the 40s. It was about the end of the war, is my recollection, but it might have been a little earlier.
I don't know, has anybody reminisced about the Spanish fiestas at the park?
Not really.
Every year the Catholic Church would put on a fiesta in the park to raise money.
Forest Park, down by the depot.
Yeah,
by
Forest Park. And everybody in the community and the whole area would really support them. It was a big deal. They'd have booths with just like a carnival, and they'd have a barbecue that was just, you know, it was great. And then they'd always have entertainment and a dance. And it's hard to believe that, well, the park was bigger then than it is now. It's been reduced in size to accommodate the widening of D Street and the streets around there. But at that time, it seemed like it was a huge park.
Do you remember
little kids?
Do you remember the baseball games?
Oh yeah, they had baseball games down where the
bus
terminal and the park and ride is now. They had baseball games there. Plus, they had for a couple of years they'd have rodeos there. Back to the baseball games. I know my dad was on a team. They had the 7th Street team and the D Street team. And then the cement plant had a team, and it seemed like there were probably half a dozen different teams around. And can I say my dad was a pretty good player?
What position did he play?
He was catcher, and you could always count on him for a home run. He was good.
Well, he was
really
big.
good.
Your dad was big.
Yeah. My dad was a big man. He wasn't small like me. He was a big man.
And who was the pitcher?
Carl Thrasher was one of the best pitchers ever for Southwest Portland Cement. Yeah, it was fun back in those days because everybody knew everybody and they were doing it for fun. They weren't doing it for money, and everybody enjoyed it.